And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, you know that one of the biggest stories recently was the firing, the suspension, the put in time out of Jimmy Kimmel Live on ABC. Everybody's been talking about it after he said something about Charlie Kirk's assassin, really, that he was MAGA, and the Trump administration took exception to that. Now it looks like Jimmy Kimmel will be coming back after just about a week on hiatus. And y'all, this has me asking myself and asking you a serious question. Everybody framed this as a free speech issue. They made it sound as if the Trump administration had Jimmy Kimmel taken off of the air. And as I'm going to show you here shortly, the hosts on The View, all of them, at least the clips that I've seen, they all frame this as a free speech issue. But if that's the case, how was he able to come back so soon? I mean, did the government have him taken off the air or not? Or did the government have him taken off the air for a little while and now they're like, okay, he can come back? That doesn't sound very likely to me. It seems to me that ABC saw what he said, saw that there was a big negative reaction among the public, and they decided they wanted some time to cool off. And so I don't know that this is a free speech thing. Now, I will say, if the government were to have influenced ABC's decision directly, right, if they were to have made a call and caused ABC to take him off of the air, then yes, that is a free speech issue, 100%. But again, my question is, how is he coming back so soon? So first, we're going to take a look at what your girls, you got 3 girls from The View, they all spoke about this today. And then I'm going to break the news to you, y'all. Jimmy Kimmel's coming back. Let's take a look. But before we do, y'all, make sure you take care of your money. I'm not going to make this a long one, y'all. Go to Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com, or call 844-651-8334, 844-651-8334. If you have $50,000 to $100,000 or more in your retirement, protected from inflation, protected from monetary debasement, you're about to retire. Make sure your money's still there and it's still worth something by investing at least some of it in gold. Talk to our partners at Augusta Precious Metals. Go click the link now, get the free information, and protect your precious retirement.
Freedom of speech undergirds our democracy. And our founders were very, very clear on that. Our founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the rights of citizens to criticize the government. Thomas Jefferson, in particular, said the citizens must be able to criticize public officials because, quote, they will try to impose their own opinions and modes of thinking on others, end quote. And the Supreme Court, time and time again, has reinforced its support for the law of the land, the First Amendment, freedom of speech and freedom of the press. In 1929, I remember being in law school, not in 1929.
I was like, oh my God, Jenny, you look amazing.
Thank you. I remember being in law school in 1991, and my constitutional law professor said that in 1929, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, one of the greats, said that we must protect the freedom to express the thought we hate.
Yes.
Think about that. We must protect the freedom to express the thought we hate.
The part that I don't understand that is so ironic to me is how the horrible, senseless assassination of Charlie Kirk, a man I disagreed with, but who stood for debate, who stood for freedom of speech, is being used to silence people and cancel people. I don't understand how in this country, where the First Amendment made to the Constitution was to guarantee freedom of the press and freedom of speech, the government itself is using its weight and power to bully and scare people into silence.
I actually wasn't surprised that Ted Cruz and Rand Paul took the position they did, because this has been a long-standing, not just American position, but conservative position, that the First Amendment and the right to free speech is fundamental in this country. And that means speech you find offensive, it means political satire, it means comedy, it means holding those in power accountable. And I think a lot of people, when they think of conservatives, they think you wake up, you kiss a picture of Donald Trump, and you want tax cuts for the wealthy. What made me a conservative was the idea that In all the systems of government that have existed in human history, as imperfect as ours is, the Constitution gets it pretty damn right.
Sure
The First Amendment is the first for a reason because you need to be able to hold those in power accountable. And what Ted Cruz later says in an interview that I think is an incredibly important point, the pendulum swings in this country.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is not going to be in power for 100 years. It may feel that way to a lot of people right now. There will be a time that the left is back in power. And I think the same conservatives who are backing this position, this crackdown on free speech, do not want a left-wing president policing what can be said on TV, how you can criticize your government.
Okay, so now you see they're all framing this as a free speech issue, right? But it must not be too much of a free speech issue because Jimmy Kimmel's on his way back. Let's take a look. Here it says, Disney says Jimmy Kimmel Live will return to ABC on Tuesday. Disney said in a statement Monday that Jimmy Kimmel Live will return to its ABC broadcast on Tuesday. The decision came nearly a week after ABC said it was suspending the late night show indefinitely. Indefinitely is 1 week, y'all. Shortly after the host made comments linking the alleged killer of conservative activist Charlie Kirk to President Donald Trump's MAGA movement. Quote, this is what Disney said, y'all. Quote, last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. FCC Chair Brendan Carr had suggested ABC's broadcast license was at risk in light of the comments. So that's really the big question. Did they make that decision in reaction to the FCC chair's comments or no? You know, I mean, this is kind of a tough one because, again, you don't necessarily know. I mean, Disney here, they're saying why they made their decision and they're not citing the FCC chair's comments. But again, would they really? So at any rate, y'all, your boy, Jimmy Kimmel, he's coming back. Now, y'all, in case you didn't know, the left, when it was time to silence their critics when they were in power, they were very, very, very vocal about their desire to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and loop in this report on that. Take a look at all of these people on the left who were for canceling, who were even for throwing people in jail. Take a look. Now, I am going to be playing a clip here of AOC where she is going to express her opinion about Charlie Kirk and about the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel. And then what you're going to see after that is the same AOC who way back in the before times, way back in the before days, you know, several months and years ago when the Democrats had power, where she seemed to be a proponent of canceling people and a proponent of using the reins of power to decide what people can and cannot say on the airwaves. And then following that, y'all, it's just a whole litany of Democratic voices who are going to be saying the same thing. Now, I have to give a shout out to End Wokeness on X. Many of these clips come from End Wokeness. They might be reposts from another channel, but that's where I saw them. So let's give a shout out to End Wokeness. So y'all, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it.
Today, the Republican House majority brought to the floor a resolution honoring, quote, honoring the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's assassination was a horrific and vile attack and incident of political violence. And condemning the depravity of Kirk's brutal murder is a straightforward matter, one that is especially important to help stabilize an increasingly unsafe and volatile political environment where everyday people feel more at risk. We can deeply disagree and come together as a country to denounce the horror of this killing. And it is not a license for the abuse of power and whitewashing of American history. Today's resolution only underscores the majority's recklessness by choosing to author this condemnation and honoring on a purely partisan basis, instead of uniting Congress in this tragedy with one of the many bipartisan options to condemn political violence and Kirk's murder, as we did with the late Melissa Hortman. Instead, the majority proceeded with a resolution that brings great pain to the millions of Americans who endured segregation, Jim Crow, and the legacy of bigotry today. We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was. A man who believed that the Civil Rights Act that granted Black Americans the right to vote was a mistake. Who, after the violent attack on Paul Pelosi, claimed that, quote, some amazing patriot, unquote, should bail out his brutal assailant. And accused Jews of controlling, quote, not just the colleges, it's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it, unquote. His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from the working, quote, working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution. It is equally important that Congress does unite to reject the government's attempt to weaponize this moment into an all-out assault on free speech across the country, all in the name of Charlie Kirk. President Trump and the FCC are now cynically threatening to shut down ABC and any outlets who give airtime to the administration's political critics. This is a disgusting attack on the American people and the very First Amendment rights that define us as a country. It is also the ABC Corporation's responsibility to refuse to embolden and participate in this corruption and escalation of censorship. We continue to pray for Mr. Kirk's family and loved ones in the wake of this terrible act. I am thinking especially of his children and his wife, whose grief cannot be measured. And with that, I yield back to the gentleman.
You know, I do think that several members of Congress in some of my discussions have brought up media literacy, because that is a part of what happened here. And we're going to have to figure out how we rein in our media environment so that you can't just spew disinformation and misinformation. It's one thing to have differing opinions, but it's another thing entirely to just say things that are false. And so that's something that we're looking into.
And we'll put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice. We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms, because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
All of these social media companies and these online platforms, which are so powerful in their ability to impact perception about an issue and to influence behaviors, let's be clear about that. There have to be standards, and he and his account should be taken down. We saw in El Paso that shooter in his manifesto was informed by how Donald Trump uses that platform. And this is a matter of corporate responsibility. Twitter should be held accountable and shut down that site. It is a matter of safety and corporate accountability.
Thank you. Senator Warren, you can respond.
So, look, I don't just want to push Donald Trump off Twitter. I want to push him out of the White House. That's our job.
Join me in saying that his Twitter account should be shut down.
No, let's figure out.
No?
Why it is that
he has lost his privileges and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop. Donald Trump has 65 million followers on Twitter, and we have to take seriously the weaponization of this platform by the president, and the need, therefore, of a private corporation to be held accountable to say he has abused the terms, and it could result literally in a threat to safety of human beings who are participating with the process of justice.
There is not a part of you civically, constitutionally, that is concerned about the precedent of a private company taking the platform away from the President of the United States or some other elected official.
Free speech does not condone or protect threats to the safety of other human beings. And so that is what we are talking about. Like, let's be really clear about what we're talking about.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy. I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
So you can see that when one side is in control, they want to exercise their power and flex their muscles and do certain things that once they lose control, it's like, whoa, hold up now. I didn't know we were supposed to do. Hold up now. I didn't know we were doing that. I didn't know that was allowed. So yeah, y'all, a lot of people are pointing out this. You might call it hypocrisy. You might call it double-facedness. Call it what you want. When I'm in power, I can do it. But when you're in power, you shouldn't do it. Same thing happened with Donald Trump in the lawfare. They went after that man with everything they had. Now that he's in power and he's going back after them, is that's not fair. That's retribution. I mean, retribution. Yeah. I mean, let's say it is retribution. You get retribution when somebody did you wrong, right? I mean, isn't the word retribution, isn't that kind of a tacit acknowledgement that they did him wrong? So yeah, y'all, Jimmy Kimmel, he's coming back. What do you think about this? Do you think this was a free speech issue or not? I mean, do you even care he's coming back? Frankly, I don't even watch TV, so I definitely, it's not going to affect me. But let me know what you think. Let me know down in the comments, y'all. What do you think about all this? What's your take on the Jimmy Kimmel situation? What's your take on the way the Democrats previously were all for censorship and now they're all against it? Let me know down in the comments. But before you do, please stop, hit the share button. Y'all share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all of your favorite social mediums. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. Y'all, if you want to protect your retirement from the upsies, downsies, roundsies, and roundsies, go down and click the first link in the description, paralegold.com, PARALEGOLD.com, and speak to our partners at Augusta Precious Metals at 844-651-8334. Thank y'all for watching. Love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next one.